You're watching News 24 Live. I'm Nick Pawson. I'm sitting in studio with the Sport 24 team, our first sports show of the year. Editor Garen Lamley and Chief Writer Rob Howing. Today we are discussing cricket. Of course, the three T20s, the West Indies have won two of them very convincingly. Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning, Nick.
The Wanderers game yesterday, that total, Rob, I'll start with you, that we posted, no thanks to Captain Faf du Plessis. I mean, I don't think anybody would have betted that the West Indies would have caught that.
I know, it was, but the Wanderers does that to you. It's that sort of ground where the team batting second, I think increasingly we're learning over the last few years. If you throw in the 4-3-8 game, a couple of other dramatic T20 games, that you simply cannot rest on your laurels, whatever score you've posted. But I've got to agree with you. At the turn, I sort of thought, South Africa surely must be right in this. The only reservation I had, Nick, was that I thought our attack looked a little bit lean for the West Indies. I think some of their stroke players would have thought, David Wiese, first change seamer for South Africa in this game. He's a guy who, although he does show promise as an all-rounder, and actually I thought showed really good ticker on the day, the way he clawed us back into the contest a little bit towards the end. He's not normally the sort of guy you would associate with sort of being a sort of a prime South African seamer. He struggles a bit with the ball domestically. It's considered to be one of his suits that he's not quite as accomplished with. So I took a look at the South African attack. Two specialist spinners. They were also obviously going to be under huge pressure and did come under pressure at some stages, although I thought both Imran and Aaron Pankiso did a pretty good job under the circumstances.
Yeah.
But on paper, our attack was a little bit flimsy, and that was partly, of course, because we were so shell-shocked by what had happened at Newlands that we kind of re-angled things and took this much more bold, adventurous approach into the Wanderers. And sadly, again, we floundered. So we're 2-0 down, one consolation game to play, but an incredible game of cricket.
Garen, coming off the back of the Test series, which the Proteas won convincingly, we all know that the West Indies, the shorter format does suit them. I mean, they have they're the world T20 world champions. Did you expect there to be the turnaround like that?
Yeah,
the change of formats.
I expected the West Indies to be far, far better in the 2020s than they were in the Test series. Obviously it doesn't take as much patience as Test cricket does. That's something the West Indies have been lacking, bowling line and length, over after over in Test cricket. They can get away with short 2-3 over spells in 2020. They've got some massive hitters of the game, some of the best in the world, all in the one team. I think they also helped tremendously by the fact that a lot of their key players played in the Ram Slam 2020 this season. So you had Chris Gayle playing for the Lions out of the Wanderers. You had Kieran Pollard playing for the Cobras from Newlands. So, they knew the wickets, they knew the opposition. They learnt a lot this season. So that certainly paid off for them. And, as the nature of 2020, the team batting first posts the target, the team batting second knows what they need to do. They have to go from ball one, and you saw it in the match. The first ball went for a boundary. I think the second went for a boundary. There was another boundary later on in the over, and they got off to a rollicking start. And it never really looked like they were going to lose at some point. They still go through this sort of patch where they lose wicket after wicket, in clumps. It didn't even look like they were going to only win by 4 wickets in the end at Newlands. They lost a bunch of wickets towards the end, but it sort of flattered the Proteas a little bit there. So, the West Indies certainly better suited to 2020, slightly better, 50 overs. I think they might even be a bit of a force at the Cricket World Cup if they sort of keep this momentum going. But certainly, at Test match level, like we saw in the series, they're not sort of adequate, at the moment. They've lost so many of their star names of, the past. Not a patch on the teams of the 80s, 90s. So a lot to do there, but certainly at 2020, hit and miss, they are one of the better teams going.